knows what you should be doing, even though they don't know your life, your stories, your desires, your fears, your family, your obligations. I'm hoping this podcast gives you the opportunity to think about what you want, to listen to your still small voice. Welcome back. I've done my travels and I'm wrapping up now, working on giving myself the time and space I need to make this transition into fall. We do these things yearly, and thankfully nature reminds us, but I want to remind you that, things don't have to stay in their seasons. I do feel like we should be doing this harvesting, letting go thing more than once a year, but you know what? Like if we can do it once a year in our society with the always more, bigger, better, no rest, then great, do it once a year. But I feel like sometimes we should be doing this more often. And I think sometimes life gives us more opportunities to do it, whether we want to or not. Anyway, so I've done what I have said I would do for myself. Not only did the piles of books get eliminated, but I also cut down on my consumption in general of stuff. It was time to let go of some email newsletters, some podcast feeds, some apps, and some things that I thought I was doing to help myself, but it was actually just keeping me stuck in that busyness. So, you only seem to notice the space and the peace that you get when things are gone. And it can be so hard to let things go. At the same time, I did go on my trip and was super, super anxious upon my return. It was great. Not really. It was not great at all. During the trip, I did get some time to think or re-remember, why certain things were let go. But at the same time, it did bring up a whole other host of thoughts and anxieties that I thought I had laid to rest. I had thought I had laid them to rest, and then they woke back up again from a very deep sleep, which ties in perfectly with this episode. Sometimes there are some conscious, practical, tangible things that you can do to help you let go of things that either you are or are not ready to let go of, And do these things work? Do they accomplish the task? Maybe. Maybe not. But do they hurt to do? Probably not. Letting go is hard. Letting go is really, really hard. You can say you want to let go of something, but usually by saying that, you're actually not letting go. You're just holding on to it. It's such a paradox, which most of living actually is. I think of letting go as a long, spiral staircase process, where sometimes you can actually see what's happening in front of you and you know where you're going, and sometimes you have no idea. I believe there are clouds, dark clouds, light clouds all around it. And as been said, that you're always making progress, but it can feel like just a repetitive motion of getting nowhere. And I feel like sometimes these conscious, practical, tangible things you can do to quote unquote let go is just something you can give yourself to remind yourself to keep going. And, if you're feeling hopeless, that it's not hopeless. You are doing the things. You are telling the universe that, yes, I am trying to let go of this thing, even though it might be and feel impossible to let go of. So, and when I think, of letting go of stuff, even that you might want to let go of, or sometimes not, usually there's that peace and space with it. And also a lesson, idea, or image, or learning that you're taking with you. You're grabbing that little piece off the thing that you're letting go, and then you're letting go of the rest of it. And sometimes that can be as simple as please don't do that again to yourself. That's usually what my lessons are when I'm looking at letting go. But there are also things that you can do, some rituals, some ideas to physically, tangibly do that in your life. Maybe there are physical things that remind you of the thing that can be removed from your life. One time, probably when I was in my mid-20s, I burnt all my childhood journals on a neighbor's large burn pile. I do remember kind of laughing manically like a crazy person. There was some fear in it, but there was also just so much joy and relief of no one's going to read my craziness, my 13-year-old craziness when I'm older. So that was very helpful for me, but yet I'm still working on letting go of a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood. Or the other thing when we talked about last episode about, celebrating yourself, what you want to do to celebrate, you can do the same thing for letting go, honoring the stuff and honoring the fact that you do want to let go. I mean, sometimes hey, I'm thinking about letting go. I'm wanting to let go. I don't know how to do it. If you are a party person and or you want to take yourself out to lunch or just do something or coffee or tea, or throw the thing, throw it a going away party, like have a party for it. I know people do that with, sometimes I've heard of like, with divorces and such, or letting go of relationships or letting go of jobs. If that's your thing, like have at it. But we all know, like, just because the party's over doesn't mean that the quote unquote letting go process is complete. But at the same time, it definitely helps because we are not good as a people at honoring endings. Sometimes we kind of have to move on and that's the best we can do. But if you could do something, and I'm all about the small, private, seemingly minor thing to just acknowledge to yourself the letting go, it can help bring that closure and help move you up on that spiral of letting go. Other things I've done in the past is like writing a thank you note to the thing I'm letting go of. Again, writing what I've learned or what I'm taking with me, or, if I'm on a walk in the woods, just even talking that out and not even writing it down. Especially if it is something, there are things where we're totally good of like, I'm so happy to let go of that. Like, God bless, please move on. But especially if it's something very bittersweet or very painful, that could have you, sad or gutted. You have to let go, but maybe it's not what you had hoped or dreamed. Doing some of these things could help you deal with and process it. For example, when I was divorcing 10 years ago now, I was not ready to let go for a very, very long time. I pretty quickly got rid of the stuff that I could, that reminded me of everything. And I did the journaling and the walking and the therapy and all the programs because I wanted to let go. Well, I thought I wanted to let go, but at the same time, I knew I wasn't ready to let go. So I kind of saw this as doing all that. I saw it as the prepping of like, so when I'm ready to let go, like maybe it'll be easier, better. The first year or so, those little things as I dealt with, first Christmas, first run of birthdays, all the holidays, and kind of just kept head down, well, okay. And kept going, and then kind of more acknowledged and celebrated when the painful thoughts were few and further between, when I could get through a day without defaulting to what might have been, kind of where like time heals all wounds. There is some truth to that the more you're kind of forced to live live without what you had wanted, you kind of just learn and figure it out. But I really believe that we can do some of these letting go things so that we set ourselves up to continue the process of letting go as healthily and naturally and safely and sanely, not just safely, but sanely as possible. Because, letting go is usually going to come back around again and again as needed. And even if you think you're done letting go, it comes back. It's not a bad thing. It just means that there's more for you to process now. It's like thinking you've completed a game and then all those like hidden bonus levels come up, except that you may or may not be necessarily thrilled that there is like, extra bonus levels, but still usually these bonus levels, these extra after levels, after a while should feel kind of more mild and more like reminders than compared to those like harder levels right before the game was over. And at the same time, the other side of letting go is about letting in, about bringing in and honoring that space, that kind of vacuum. Once you remove something that might have been longstanding, like a dream or a hope or a desire that sometimes run its course, it does feel weird and odd when you look at a room when you get rid of a large piece of furniture, if you move everything around and there's stuff where stuff didn't used to be and there's no stuff where stuff used to be, and you don't really know how to orient yourself. And I think that's the same thing in our lives, and that's going to be the case. So in sometimes almost focusing on that space and just letting it be, maybe not rushing to fill it up again, but like waiting to see what comes in to fill that space, kind of being more curious about it necessarily than like, oh, well, I have to fit something in here, just letting it be. And I think acknowledging of the letting that be can also be a way of just helping to let go, acknowledging that it's awful and it sucks and it doesn't feel good. I think half the time we just have to acknowledge that none of this feels great and we don't want to do it. And then the rest of it kind of naturally comes through and we don't have to do as much work as we first thought. It's happening right now for me. As I mentioned, that things that I have come up that I thought were put to rest, but I feel like now I have a better understanding, more space now, more wisdom to process and deal with them again that I hadn't had maybe a couple years ago. And interestingly enough, the stuff that came up on my trip, it seems to take a while to be aroused. It's like waking up a sleeping animal, like gently wanders around and then all of a sudden is bouncing off the walls. So it's coming up long after I've returned from the trip. So again, like just understanding that letting go is not necessarily happy fun time, but acknowledging and accepting that and doing whatever you can do to honor yourself and the lessons along the way. And again, honoring that space, that vacuum that's going to be there for something else long before you know it, because the universe will fill it somehow, some way for us. So, there's something about the inward turning of the season, turning into ourselves that lets us off a bit more, kind of gives us that space, gives us that opportunity to let there be space. But at the same time, it also seems to fill itself up so quickly without us even realizing it. So next time we'll continue to talk more about this dichotomy here and the upcoming holidays and how to work with kind of while nature is naturally saying rest and take a break. And the social calendar is saying, you think you have a weekend to do what you want? You are wrong. But how to kind of make this come together and be a both and instead of an either or. So I will see you all next time. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm so glad. And if you didn't, well, that's fine too. Thanks for giving it a try. You can do all the things if you so desire. You can subscribe, rate, review, follow, emoji, whatever it is you feel called to do. Please do what you feel called to do. If you take nothing else from this podcast, please take that. I do appreciate any feedback that you may have. You can reach out to me at my email address found in the show notes. Thank you so much.